Last year, the Boston Globe published a 7-part series on racism in Boston and its effects on the city's black community. Boston has struggled with racism for decades. In the 1950s, the Red Sox were the last Major League Baseball team to add a black player to its roster. In the 1970s, a federal judge ordered Boston public schools to desegregate through a system of busing students. And in 2017, fans at Fenway Park called Baltimore Orioles outfielder Adam Jones the N-word. So why do some members of Boston's black community want to stay in Boston? I sat down with 3 people who all moved to Boston for college about their experiences in the city compared to their hometowns.
My thought was that it's a city and I will find people and it'll be diverse, and the community I came from was just so diverse that I think I didn't realize how different things were outside. I thought that all cities were like this.
Say in my home community, there really wasn't any perception. It's like everyone's here like a student. Maybe within other groups there were. They're like identifying themselves in their own culture, their own race. Not that I know of or have personally experienced.
It wasn't something like you saw all kinds of people, black, white, Latina, everyone. They're just all intermingled and everything.
What was your experience like when you first got here?
The first day I was here, a white person from the Midwest said that I was attractive for a black guy. And that was my introduction to the city. And I think that then prepared me for the rest of my experience here. I think the things that Boston is known for are seen as good, right? So like academia and all of these great research institutions and all of this knowledge and information. But I think what that kind of covers is a lack of connection to folks, whereas in other places and cities, there's just more interaction. There's not lines where people are racially segregated as terms to where they live, as to where they have access to things. I think in Boston, you could, as a white person, live very long in the city without seeing a black person or interacting with them on a real way. And I think that is what I experienced the longer that I was here.
What did you take from that? I wasn't there. What was that like for you?
I think it was kind of a rude awakening into that, this isn't home. I think it was hard at first, but then over time I just became numb to those kinds of comments because they happen so regularly.
Although at BU, I'd say there's a lot more of groups, student groups such as Asian Students Organization, your, what's it called? Hillel, different multicultural groups or even fraternities or sororities. So it's definitely more defined and known.
I'm fortunate enough to have athletics as a base for my community and who I choose to hang out with, and I feel like if I didn't have that, having the groups around campus would help, and just continue doing that, but also allow others to join other groups just because, and not because based on race or anything else. Just keep it open.
What made you decide to stay in Boston as opposed to moving back home to New York or moving to another city that, maybe isn't so racist?
I work in education. It's definitely a field where networks are strong. And all the network that I had built was in Boston. So one of the reasons that I got a job, and none of my family members have gone to college, and my dad is a custodian. They don't work in industries where they can connect me to folks who can connect me to job opportunities that I'm interested in with a college degree. So I think part of it was that this is the only place where I know people and was able to use a network to get a job. And I think part of it was that I was so upset by the city that I thought I could affect change. I thought working at a nonprofit, now I work in higher education in admissions, I thought that I could really affect the policies around these things. I think there's a need to go to grad school, and Boston has great academic institutions. And there's a lot of them in a close by area. As a working professional who's now trying to go to school part-time, the access to apply to 12 different colleges that have programs that I could go to on campus feasibly is really great. I think despite the negatives, I think building community off of that and having folks support you through it has been really great. And I do think that there are lots of nonprofits and CBOs and orgs that are trying to do that work, so I think that is a cool part of the city.
Personally, for myself, I want to work in either pharmaceuticals or med device sales, and Boston's really a hub for both of those industries and biotech. Also, a lot of my friends are around here, so while I see myself moving back to Florida for 40 or raising a family, I'd love to stay in Boston.
I hope to stay close to Boston. I'm not quite sure, nothing's set in stone, but I hope to continue playing hockey, and if I can have the opportunity to play in Boston, I'd love it. I have my people here. But I don't know, I just love the city, period, and being around it feels like home. I love how you can just go out and do your own thing. Like you can go to Charles and see all kinds of people. You can have headphones in or not and just do your own thing. And I love how open the city is and everyone's just doing their own thing no matter if they're super busy or not.
I think what's different about my experience now looking at new places to move as compared to when I moved to Boston is now I'm asking, what is the POC community like? What is it like? What is the integration like in the city? What does housing segregation look like? And I think those are questions that, because of my experience in Boston, I know to look for in the next city that I move to.
The severity and frequency of racist incidents in Boston is different for all members of the Black community. So is the decision to stay in Boston or move away. However, the perception of Boston as a racist city will remain until real change can be seen. At Fenway Park, I'm Erica Matera Benoon.